with a story. It was literally about 11 years ago. It was 11 years ago when I was literally in Long Beach, California. I was literally living right near the beach, and I would get up every single morning and I would walk the beach and I would run the beach and I would just sit there and I'd reflect. And I had a wonderful jog one morning. I came home and I sat down in my one bedroom and I sat down in my chair, and at that moment I had this inspiration. And my inspiration was that I wanted to obtain a doctoral degree. And the reason I wanted to obtain a doctoral degree was because, number one, I always had this vision of one day having a doctoral degree. That was one of my visions. But in addition to that, the other reason I wanted to have a doctoral degree is because I wanted to enhance my speaking. I wanted to enhance my writing. And more importantly, I believe that if I was in the right program, getting the right degree as it relates to a doctoral degree, I believe I can make that much more of an impact in other people's lives as a speaker. And so I ended up enrolling, and I ended up getting accepted into Nova Southeastern University, which is a university here based in South Florida. And at this particular time, there were some challenges that posed to me right off the bat. And the first challenge was that I wasn't going to be a traditional college student. In essence, when I got my bachelor's, when I got my master's, I was always traditional. I was always going to classes. I was involved. I was meeting lots of people. But because of the demand on my speaking career, because of the demand in what I was doing at the time, there was no way that I was going to be able to be a traditional student, and I was going to have to go virtual. And really quickly, I learned that if I was going to succeed as a virtual student, there were some changes that I was going to have to make. For instance, when I began my second class as a virtual student, I ended up failing. In essence, I had this one class for an entire semester. It was a 6-unit class, and I literally failed the class. And I was so frustrated because I had never failed a class ever as a student in my entire life. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm pursuing this doctoral degree. I'm trying to attain this dream of mine to be a doctoral student, to be a doctoral graduate. In my second class, I failed. And man, I'm telling you again, I was like, man, this is a tough spot to be. But again, and I'm going to say it over and over, you're going to hear me share this later tonight as well. Failure is a preparation for success when you have the right lens, when you understand that failure is a learning experience in order to get better. And so at that moment, I realized I was going to have to make some adjustments. I was going to have to make some changes in the way I studied, in the way I learned, in the way I did things if I was going to thrive and succeed as a virtual college student. And the reason why I knew this was the case is because I discovered that a traditional student and a virtual student poses two different challenges, two different experiences, and requires different ways of navigation and different ways of learning. In essence, there's certain things you can do in a traditional format that you can't do in a virtual format, and there's certain things you can do in a virtual format that you actually can't do in a traditional format. And I began to realize this, and this is one of the reasons I love this quote that I think is so powerful, where the researchers went on to say that taking a course online instead of in person produces various challenges. I'm sure we're all aware of that. And because of these challenges, they can lead to poor outcomes. I'm a witness of that. Because of the challenges of being a virtual student, there are certain courses I may have passed with ease I was not as good as because of the virtual dynamics and the adjustments and even the ways of learning as a virtual college student. And so immediately when the pandemic occurred, and being an educator in the college market for the past 15 years and speaking to students all across the country, and also my experience as a virtual doctoral student, I realized right away that one of the most important messages that this current student needs to hear about is how do you thrive as a virtual college student? Because truth be told, many have not learned about it. Many have not understood the different dynamics of how to thrive and succeed. And quite frankly, a lot of professors may not even know how to effectively teach from a virtual standpoint. So there's all these challenges. And as a student, you're given the responsibility to work through this and still thrive and still succeed. But what I've realized is in leadership, and I love this quote by Vince Lombardi, he says that leaders aren't born, they're made. You can have a natural ability to lead, but it takes the development of certain skills in order to make you a great leader. And I think the same is true with being a virtual student. There's some stuff you may be able to do as it relates to being a digital student, as it relates to learning online, as it relates to engaging online. But to thrive and succeed as a virtual college student, there's some things we need to possess in order to maximize that experience. And that's really why I'm here today, to be quite honest with you. My goal today in this next session, I'm going to provide you with 5 more questions. In Espanol, that will be cinco. But I'm going to give you 5 more questions to consider if you're going to thrive, not just as a college student, but here's the catch, as a virtual college students. So we're not dealing just with to being a college student. We're dealing with the virtual aspect and how to thrive and how to succeed and navigate as a virtual college student. So that's what we're getting ready to get into today. And before we get started, I'm going to ask you just to engage with me really quickly. And I'm going to ask you a question. Over the past year, what has been your greatest challenge? So if you could put that in the chat box. Over the past year, what has been your greatest challenge? If I was sitting there right now, we're having a one-on-one conversation. If you could place in the chat box, let everyone know. As Mike said, make sure it's all parents and attendees. But what has been your greatest challenge? And it doesn't have to be long, but what has been your greatest challenge? I'll give you about 10 to 20 seconds to put that in the chat. Just want to get an idea of what type of challenges you have faced over these past 6 months to a year. Living in the pandemic. Oh, you are so right about that. Learning how to adapt to being home all the time and studying. Great question. Great question. Anybody else before we move on? Man, this pandemic has definitely been a challenge. We're going to talk about that as we get through the day as well. There's some things that I think are going to help you as far as dealing with the challenges that are going on today. Leaving my job at 26 and pursuing my degree. Congratulations to you, Taylor. Wow. Now that's a big adjustment. That's a big challenge. I understand. Applying to colleges and deciding where to go. Come on now, right? Where do you want to go? Especially during a pandemic. Applying to universities. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. And I understand the challenges of that. And then for those that may be living in a different city, in a different state, in the midst of a pandemic, I know that can be challenging as well. Having to learn how to make major decisions. Yeah, decision making. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you all so much for sharing that. I think all of these are challenges that I'm definitely aware of. These are challenges that I've definitely faced. And I asked you that question because my first question is this. If you're going to be an effective virtual college student, my first question is, are you a resourceful person? The first question is, are you a resourceful person? What is a resourceful person? A resourceful person is someone that has the ability to pivot, to innovate, and solve complex problems without the help of people they expected to be there. Let me make this a little bit more clear. When we deal with this concept of being a resourceful person, what I am saying is you face a challenge. And a lot of times in life, when you face challenges, you have what I call go-to people, or you may have assistance, or there may be someone in your life that can assist you with the problem. But for whatever reason, in that moment, they're nowhere to be found. It's as if the crutch that you had for maybe 15 or 20 years of your life, or maybe 6 months, is all of a sudden gone. And now you got to figure out, how am I going to solve this problem without the other person? What ideas, what creativity, what out the box kind of things can I do in order to position myself to succeed, to solve the problem despite everything that is going on around me that I wasn't even prepared for? This is resourcefulness. And the reason why this is important, because number one, as a virtual college student, man, you're going to face unexpected challenges. I mean, just think about what we faced with the pandemic. I mean, I can remember when life was just normal, and in a matter of 24 hours, everything shifted. The same is true with learning. Some of you may have been in high school and you were going to school and you were expecting your prom and you were expecting to graduate and all the other things, and all of a sudden the pandemic hits and everything just shifts. And first, I want to congratulate you that have been able to navigate through that experience. In essence, as a virtual college student, or even in life, things just shift. And ultimately, if you're going to thrive and you're going to succeed in these times of uncertainty, in a time when things shift, in a time when they say we're going to go back to school, but then we're not going to go back to school, or maybe you're in school and they got to shut down and go back to virtual learning. In the midst of all these shifts, you got to learn how to be resourceful. You got to learn how to be able to innovate, to pivot, to adjust, and to figure out how you're going to make do and still thrive and succeed with exactly what you have. In essence, I can remember days when I was in college, and I can remember I was trying to figure out how I was going to pay the bills. You know, it's one thing to get a degree. It's one thing to go to school, but it's a whole nother thing. We're trying to, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to sometimes find food? There's a lot of challenges that arise in this collegiate journey, and you got to be resourceful. There's moments where literally maybe you don't have the access or the Wi-Fi that you need to get your homework done or even to study or be part of a virtual class. And now you're looking for Wi-Fi. You're looking, how can I get on Wi-Fi? How can I do my homework? How can I turn things in? That deals with resourcefulness. Or there will be moments where you have a question and there's no student, there's no professor. All you have is an email. And you email your professor, but this is the catch. You don't know what your professor's doing. You don't know when they're going to get back to you, but you need the answer right now. And sometimes you may not get the response when you need it, and you have to be resourceful. And these are the challenges, and these are the real challenges of being a college student. These are the real challenges of being a virtual college student in the midst of a pandemic. Is there's going to be unexpectancy, there's going to be uncertainty, there's going to be challenges, but that doesn't mean you cannot thrive and succeed. You can still thrive, you can still succeed, but you have to be what I call resourceful. And it's one of the reasons I love this quote by Tony Robbins. He says, and I quote, he says, success is not about your resources. Let this go loud and clear. Success is not about your resources. It's about how resourceful you are with what you have. Success is not about resources. It's about how successful are you with exactly what you have. I may not have all the money. I may not have all the access. I may not have tutors. I may not be able to talk to my professor. I may not have no idea what I'm doing. But somehow, some way, if I'm going to thrive and succeed, I got to be resourceful, and I got to figure out how we're going to make this thing work. Another quote says this. It says, resourcefulness is even more critical for online students because there's not that in-person communication. And sometimes you got to ask additional questions. Sometimes you got to come out your comfort zone. You got to engage even more to get more clarity about what is going on. Because, you know, a lot of people don't want to ask questions. They want to just sit there and listen. And you got to ask questions. You got to engage. You got to be resourceful. Even in online chats, even with connecting with people, you're going to have to step outside the box. You're going to have to figure out how we're going to make this thing work. I even sense that even maybe your learning environment's not working for you. Okay, my learning environment's not working for me. What can I do to adjust to make sure that I'm in the right environment which is conducive for learning and conducive for staying focused? There's all these challenges that cause people to quit, that cause people to give up, that affects people from reaching their fullest potential. But again, like Tony Robbins said, successful people, people that attain success, people that make an impact, people that become incredible leaders, they are resourceful and they work with what they had to still do things at a high level. And this is not just something that I'm just talking about. This is not just about motivation, and this is not just about inspiration. I'm here to tell you this is a reality in my life because it was literally about 5 months ago when I was on a plane coming back from Los Angeles, California to Miami, Florida for a speaking engagement at Johnson & Wales University. And I had a Friday presentation I was going to be doing on leadership. And so I board the plane. And when I'm boarding the plane, I get an unexpected phone call from the assistant director. And they say, Dr. Fredenberg, we're going to have to cancel your presentation. And I was like, well, why? They said, because COVID-19. We just got an email this morning and everything is shut down for the rest of the year. So I want to paint this picture. I'm getting on the plane, I prepared, I got my PowerPoint, and I'm getting ready to speak. And within about 15 hours, everything is shut down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. And I'm already seeing it on the news. And then about a couple of days later, I was planning the National Circular Change Leadership Conference in New York City. We got to cancel the conference because of COVID. And then I had a busy speaking schedule, and all of a sudden my entire speaking schedule was canceled. In essence, what I had been doing for 14 or 15 plus years, in a matter of days, it was all shut down. And now I was trying to figure out, what in the world am I about to do? Number one, I have a family, I have kids, I have people to take care of, I have bills. So that was the first thing on my mind. How am I going to pay the bills? If you agree, someone say, oh yeah, it gets real like that. And then I was trying to figure out, well, am I going to be able to be a speaker anymore? When is this thing going to change? And then I thought about my health. And then I thought about, how am I going to stay healthy? How am I going to thrive? How am I going to succeed? Am I going to be subject to COVID-19? Am I going to be subject to being hurt? And so all these things are going through my mind. And then you have the racial injustices, and you have all the challenges that are going on. So I'm just overwhelmed right now. I'm trying to figure out, what in the world am I going to do? But in the midst of that, there was a skill set that I learned my entire life, and I learned how to be resourceful. I learned how to work with what I had, be innovative, do things out the box, and still position myself to thrive and succeed. And you say, Dr. Fredenberg, what did you do? Well, I did something I pivoted really quickly. I decided that I was going to create a virtual studio. I decided that I was going to begin to create virtual programming, and I was going to prepare myself to do more virtual programming as a speaker. Because what I realized is, even if we don't go back to school, there's still going to be a need for education. There's still going to be a need for programming. People are still going to have to be educated, and there's still going to be money to pay people to come to speak on college campuses and within organizations, because many of you are going to school to be educated, to grow and to develop. So I knew that was still going to be needed. And so I began to create this virtual studio, and Mike, who's been an incredible help to me, I began to get a TV and a flat screen. I had to get a new laptop. I got lights. I got a whole TV studio right now, right here in this room right now as I'm talking to you. And the reason I had to do that again is because I realized that I was going to thrive and I was going to succeed. I had to think outside the box. I had to do something different. And now I sit here today on August 15, 2020 to tell you that I am actually in a better financial position today than I was on March 12th. Now, y'all say, what? With all the unemployment? I'm telling you, I'm in a better position because I pivoted. Number two, I want you to understand that I'm still speaking. I'm still speaking to students. As a matter of fact, in September, my calendar is more booked than it's been since the last 5 years because I pivoted. Could I tell you that I've been healthy? My family is more closer than ever before. I've been able to be with my son more than ever before, and I've been able to talk to my daughter more than ever before because I was resourceful. In essence, because of my resourcefulness, I've been able to position myself for greater success, watch this, and greater impact. You say, how do you say impact? Listen, if it wasn't for COVID-19, I wouldn't be sharing this message with you today. There would be no Future Leaders Conference 2020. But because I wanted to make an impact, because I was resourceful, and because in being resourceful, it's not only about yourself, but it's about giving back to others, we're able to create this program to make an impact in other people's lives. In essence, I'm here to tell you today that being resourceful not only enabled me to overcome challenges, but ultimately it's enabled me to be more effective in my area of expertise virtually. And the same is true for you that are going to be a virtual college student. If you can be resourceful, if you have an ability to innovate, to figure out how to make things work, I'm telling you, you're going to thrive and you're going to succeed. Let me go a step farther. You're not going to fail if you're resourceful. Say it again. You are not going to fail if you're resourceful. Because truth be told, everything you need is always right there. It's just sometimes it takes a challenge to really discover what we never knew was actually there. Oh, I feel this today. I'm feeling inspired right now. Sometimes the thing that you need are actually right there, but sometimes you can't discover that until a challenge makes you begin to open your eyes and identify the things that have been there the whole time to launch you to the next level. So, Josh, the question is, you're talking about resourcefulness and you shared your story, but how do I build this skill set? Well, I'm glad you asked, because number one, if you're going to be resourceful or you're going to build resourcefulness, the first thing you got to do is you got to work towards developing a positive mindset. Now, again, I'm fully aware that there are challenges, there are obstacles, and sometimes having a positive mind is extremely challenging. I'm firmly aware of that, and that's why I say you're working towards having a positive outlook, a positive attitude, a positive mindset on life. Number two, you got to be more innovative. You got to think outside the box. You got to be creative. You got to learn how to create something out of nothing in certain moments. You got to be more solution focused. This is critical. Stop focusing on the negative and start focusing on the solution. I use this quote that I share in one of my presentations. I say, every time a child was born, a solution was brought into the world. You're a solution to someone's problem. You're a solution. You're an answer. You bring value. And so instead of always complaining, because I understand sometimes you got to just vent. You got to let it out. Sometimes you need a therapist. I get it. Let it out. If you're upset, let it out. I get it. But after you let it out, begin to develop how you're going to solve the problem. Don't just let it out and get stuck. Let it out and then develop a solution to the problem so it never happens again. This is a part of resourcefulness. And then you got to be courageous. You say, why I got to be courageous? Because you're going to have to step outside your comfort zone. You're going to have to do stuff that may not feel comfortable. You're going to have to do stuff that may not always work. You're going to have to be ready to deal with rejection. You're going to have to be ready to deal with failure. You're going to have to do some stuff that may not always work. But again, that's okay. As I said earlier, failure is a preparation for success. And so as a virtual college student, you got to be resourceful. Expand the mind. Learn some things. Get out your comfort zone. Learn some things today that will prepare you for jobs that haven't even been created yet. Ooh, I feel some right now. Learn some stuff today that will enable you to position yourself for jobs that haven't been created yet. Because I got news. This virtual thing is not going away. And there's going to be a lot of companies, there's going to be a lot of organizations that are going to need people that know how to navigate, that know how to thrive and succeed from a virtual environment, whether it's work, whether it's leadership, and then in your case, as a student. The first thing we got to ask ourselves is, are you resourceful? Are you resourceful? Do you have an ability to be innovative? Do you have an ability to develop solutions when the people you thought were there to help you end up not being there again? That's the first question you got to ask yourself, is how do you plan to become more resourceful? Because this is a process. This is growth. This is development. But watch this. This skill set is not only going to help you thrive and succeed in school, but when you go on that first interview and they ask you a question, how did you navigate through the pandemic? You share your resourcefulness. You share what you did. You share how you overcome. You share how you thrived and how you succeeded. And I'm telling you, it's going to help you in the interview for your future job. You say, Josh, how do you know? I know because I had an executive that works for the NBA that said one of the main things she's looking for right now are people that are resourceful. So out loud, someone say, be resourceful, be resourceful, be resourceful. We're going to move on now. We're going to go to our first poll of the day. And this is going to be kind of fun because the first poll of the day is, well, the second poll of the day, I'm sorry. The second poll of the day is going to be kind of fun because what I want to ask you is, what social media platform do you like the best? Is it Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, or Twitter? Here we go. With 16 people, here we go. What do you like the best? Facebook is getting no love at all. That's okay. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. Out of this small sample, number one was TikTok. Oh, no, Snapchat just took the lead. There we go. Snapchat just took the lead. So the number one social media platform with this group is Snapchat. Snapchat is number one. Number two is TikTok, and then YouTube and Twitter. Awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for doing that poll with me. And there is a reason why I wanted to do that poll with you, because it leads me to my next question. And my next question is this. Are you what I call a digital maven? Are you a digital maven? Now you say, Dr. Fredenberg, what is a digital maven? A digital maven is someone that can learn, communicate, and build quality relationships through various platforms and learning digital environments. I'm going to say it again. A digital maven is someone that can learn, that can communicate, that can build quality relationships through various digital platforms and virtual learning environments. I use the concept a digital maven. And you're saying, well, Dr. Fredenberg, why is this so important? Well, this is so important is because everything is digital. Everything that we do is digital. We're virtual, but it's not just from Zoom accounts. It's not just from WebEx. It's not just from other learning platforms that you're going to use in different classes as you journey and you progress as a virtual college student. But there's also social media platforms. There's also other digital platforms that you have to become accustomed to, that you have to be able to embrace, and that you have to be knowledgeable of in order to thrive and succeed as what I call a virtual college student. In essence, I found that one of the keys to success is not only having quality Wi-Fi, not only using the right digital platforms, but more importantly, it's learning how to learn, to communicate, and I want to pivot right here, and build quality, impactful, and strong relationships digitally. Say, what do you mean? What I mean is, can you build a quality, powerful, and strong relationship with someone you've never actually met in person? I know people have done it, and I know there's the dating apps out there, but that's something you have to perfect. And the reason you got to perfect it is because everything is digital, but more importantly, your success will be connected to your ability to network, to build relationships, and to be involved in a virtual environment, not just within your campus community, but ultimately all across the world. And one of the reasons I think this is so important, I want to share this with you because there was actually a quote, and it said, as a distance learner, it's important to have a strong online presence, watch this, and to put your best foot forward. In essence, if you're going to be an effective digital learner, if you're going to be effective as a virtual student, you got to learn how to create a strong online presence. You got to learn how to communicate. You got to learn how to connect. But in addition to that, I love to share this study with students as well, because again, remember, the reason you're going to school, I hope, is not just to get a job, but ultimately to get a career that enables you to make an impact. And they say that 85% of job placement is because of personal connections. And in a virtual space, you're not going to be able to go to networking events. You're not going to be able to go to conferences for a while. But there are virtual conferences. Hey guys, like this right here. There are virtual chat sessions. There's virtual Facebook groups. There's LinkedIn. And there's a variety of other ways that you can engage and build those relationships through the digital or the virtual environment. And this is critical. Do you understand the digital manners? I like to always say, do you understand how to reach out digitally? Do you understand how to do a follow-up email? Do you understand how to set up a Zoom informational meeting? Do you understand how to maybe connect with people through, obviously through GroupMe or these other platforms that people use? There's a variety of platforms that people are using that you can get connected to as a digital maven that will enable you to be more effective. Now, again, many of you are probably well connected, and I understand that. But from a professional stance, from an academic perspective, are you prepared to be effective digitally as well? Because that's a whole nother ballgame. That deals with doing group projects with people that you've never met. That deals with connecting with professors that you've never met in person. That deals with understanding how to go on to LinkedIn and how to research different people from various industries and not only connect with them, but to build your LinkedIn profile, to build a profile to such a level that people want to engage with you, that people want to connect with you. Hear this, that people may even want to hire you. Because again, as I want to often say, it's not just about maximizing your collegiate experience. It's about positioning yourself for career success. And part of positioning yourself for career success is not only learning how to study virtually, but it's creating what I call an effective digital brand. And I got a story I want to share with you. This is me, as you saw earlier. This is me where I'm getting my doctoral degree from Nova Southeastern University. As I told you earlier, I was a virtual college student. But truth be told, I would not have been in this position if I was not a digital maven. In essence, I learned really quickly that if I was going to be effective as a virtual student, I had to learn different platforms. I had to learn how to do different things. But more importantly, I had to learn how to build effective relationships. And two of my relationships that I was able to create was this woman on the left. And she's actually a doctoral student in my program. She actually graduated 1 year before me. And we had a class together, and we never met each other in person, but we knew each other just through class assignments, and we connected and we built a relationship, and now we're friends on Facebook. And this woman was so instrumental in my life because I learned what professors to get, what professors not to get. I learned how to deal with certain assignments that I really couldn't understand at certain moments in my doctoral journey. But most importantly, when it came to the dissertation, which was a long process for me, it was this woman that was there to be my friend, to be the person that was there to support and enable me to thrive and succeed and ultimately complete my dissertation. And then on the other side, there's a Facebook group that I was a part of, and it's really geared towards people that are getting their dissertation. And I remember I came to a point where I was trying to figure out how I was going to transcribe the interviews that I had to do in order to obtain my doctoral degree. And in this process, I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I went into the Facebook group and I posted the question. And I'm telling you, within 30 minutes to an hour, I had all these suggestions of what I can do. And immediately I took the best advice. I was able to do the interviews. I was able to transcribe everything. And I was able to use that information and use that wisdom ultimately to complete my dissertation and to obtain my doctoral degree. In essence, if I did not learn how to be a digital maven, if I did not learn how to connect with people, how to build relationships, how to deal with different virtual platforms from a learning environment, there's a good chance that I would have never, ever attained my doctoral degree in organizational leadership. And so how can I be a better digital maven? Well, I'm glad you asked. The first thing you want to do is you want to learn multiple platforms. You want to begin to figure out what are the different platforms that I need to be involved with, that I need to be connected to. Again, there's different learning platforms. There may be Blackboard, there may be WebEx, there may be Zoom. But in addition to that, are you a part of LinkedIn? Are you a part of different Facebook groups that are aligned with what you're trying to do? Are you a part of different group meets where you can cultivate relationships, where you can connect with people? Are you attending other virtual programs where you can build relationships and connect? These are questions you want to ask yourself as it relates to number two, as far as developing an online presence. Are you going to YouTube to learn about how to create your LinkedIn profile? There's specific keys to making your LinkedIn profile pop, where people are attracted, where people want to engage with you. Believe it or not, there's even certain ways you can create your LinkedIn profile that can help you to get a job. And I don't want to say that all the time, but ultimately position yourself for a career. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about the pictures? Have you thought about the headliner? Have you thought about the way you describe yourself? This is part of being a virtual student, because again, it's not just maximizing my collegiate experience, but it's positioning myself for career success. Have you created a digital resume? Or maybe let's go a step farther. Have you created a web page where you can send people to check out your qualifications and the work that you have done? The second thing, are you engaging digitally online? Are you engaging with people? Are you giving comments? Are you following people? Are you learning from people? Are you part of virtual communities? Not just your friends, profession and academically. And then last one, are you building and maintaining relationships? So incredibly important. I tell students all the time, and I'm still working at this, if you can reach out to 5 to 10 people digitally every 5 days a week for the rest of your collegiate experience, I'm telling you, you will have a career, you will have a job, and you will position yourself for success. Let me say it again. If you start today, someone say today. I had to yell at y'all, I want to yell. But today, when you get off this program, or you get off this speech, and you go to LinkedIn, create your LinkedIn profile, begin to build your LinkedIn, and then begin to connect with people that are doing what you want to do. For the first year, you're building relationships with people in your industry, with people that are doing what you desire to do, with people that you admire, and you start reaching out and you start building relationships over the next 3 to 4 years. I'm telling you, you will position yourself for career success. In the midst of a pandemic, you'll find yourself still having a job. And I can confidently say that because I know people that are getting jobs right now. I know people that are getting promotions right now. I met a guy from LinkedIn right now. He said he hasn't put out a resume for 10 plus years, but he's always got new jobs based on the connections and people following him and seeing what he's doing. Second concept you got to ask yourself if you're going to thrive and succeed as a virtual college student is not only do you want to be resourceful, but my question is, are you a digital maven? Are you a digital maven? Are you aware of complex platforms? And are you aware on how to specifically connect, maintain, and build relationships? And listen, one of the great ways you're going to be able to do that here at the Future Leaders Conference is you're going to have the opportunity to connect with people in this group, to connect with people that are attending the conference, to connect with Tish, to connect with me, to even connect with some of our speakers later today. You're going to have a chance to connect, and you want to connect and you want to build those relationships because you never know who's going to be the person that's going to open up the next door for you in the future. You never know. Me and Tish have known each other for 20 years now, maybe 20 years now, or getting close to 20 years. And literally the opportunities we've created for each other is because of our ability to network and maintain relationships, although for most of our friendship, we've never lived in the same city. So to close, the question you want to ask yourself is, what do I need to do in order to become more effective as what I call a digital maven? One more time, if you could say out loud, someone say digital maven. We're going to move on really quickly to our next point. But before we get there, I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question. You can do it in the chat room. I'm going to ask you a question. What has been the most challenging thing that you've had to adapt to as a virtual college student? I know some of you shared earlier, but what has been the most challenging thing you've had to adapt to as a virtual college student? Right now, if I get a couple of people to go into the chat box, and what is receiving so many emails, for real, right? Receiving so many emails, man, I know how that is, man. If you saw my inbox, you'd be nervous right now. Not be able to have face-to-face classes, I know that's challenging. It's always good to have that interaction, staying on track, having to do group work on Zoom, right? I know we're doing it on Zoom right now, but I understand, man, the Zoom is real. Find a path to succeed, especially when you need to get in contact with teachers who don't reply to emails. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Wow, teachers that don't reply to emails, my goodness. Finding the correct time to ask a question. Man, these are really important. These are great. And the reason I asked you this question, navigating each professor's different setups. Yeah, that's so right, Taylor. And the reason I asked you that question, because it leads me to my third point. My third point is this: are you what I call an adaptable learner? You say, Dr. Fredenberg, what is an adaptable learner? An adaptable learner is someone that is able to adjust, someone that is able to change, someone that is able to modify, watch this, their learning style in order to grow and succeed in a virtual learning environment. In essence, when I deal with this concept of are you an adaptable learner, do you have an ability to adjust, to modify, or to change the way you learn, the way you grow, in order to continue to thrive, to succeed within any virtual or learning environment? That is the third question that we got to ask ourselves. And it's pretty clear why this question is important. Because again, when you're dealing with a virtual learning environment, you have different platforms, you have different professors, you have different ways of communication, you have different presentations, you have different types of group projects. There's a variety of things that are happening, and it feels like things are changing consistently. And ultimately, if I'm going to be effective with different styles of studying, with different teaching, with different ways of communicating the message, not only do I have to be able to adapt, but here's the key. If I'm not able to adapt, then I'm probably not going to thrive and succeed. I want to say it again. If you don't learn how to adapt your learning styles, the way in which you study, the way in which you do things, maybe even the way in which you take notes to different professors, to different ways presentations are given, or just into a whole different environment of learning and being educated, there's a good chance it's going to be very difficult for you to thrive and for you to succeed. And it's one of the reasons I love this statement. I think it's so powerful. It says online courses not only require computer skills and certain learning strategies to succeed, but more than 1/3 of skills necessary to thrive in jobs today are projected to change. I'm going to say it again. They said not only do online courses require us to adapt and use different learning strategies than from a traditional format, but this is what I want you to see as well. It says 1/3 of jobs that we see today are going to change, are going to evolve in the near future, and when some of you graduate. It's one of the reasons I love to use this Huffington Post quotes where they said the most important leadership skill set is flexibility in the 21st century. Because they understand, as well as do educators understand, as well as people that are here to empower and to enable people to reach college success, they understand that one of the greatest skill sets is this ability to adapt, this ability to be agile, this ability to learn on different platforms in different ways, this ability to change your study habits. In certain instances, this ability to sometimes change your rhythm and the way you do things based on the situation and based on the scenario. In essence, there may be certain professors where you studied one way, where with another professor, you have to change your study habits. There may be certain ways that you love to learn, but the way you're being taught is not the way you love to learn. So I got to adjust and figure out how I'm going to make this work. It revolves with adapt and being able to adapt and being able to adjust. And what I love about this concept, it is not only going to help you thrive and succeed as a virtual college student, but it's going to help you in your personal life, it's going to help you as a leader, and it's also going to help you in your career. I have a message that I share all the time, and it's called United as One, how to lead and unite diverse groups of people with what I call an inclusive lens of leadership. And one of the key things I talk about is this adaptability concept. Because I tell people, when you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, when you're dealing with people that are culturally diverse or people from different perspectives and different views, it requires you to adapt. It requires you even to, as a leader, to create spaces where this person can thrive and succeed. A lot of times, it's the environment that affects our success. And so if the environment is not conducive for me to thrive and succeed, how can I make the adjustments that are necessary to make the environment work for me? Because this is what I found. I found you can be brilliant and you can be smart, but if you're in a toxic environment, it can affect your growth. But you don't want to use the toxic environment as a reason why you don't thrive and succeed. Because again, you have greatness on the inside of you. You're destined to make a great impact in the world. And you got to figure out, how can I adjust? How can I adjust my environment? If I have a bad professor, if I have a bad teacher, how can I adjust to get the most out of that class and to still thrive and succeed? These are the challenges that we face as virtual learners, as virtual students, as many of you have shared with us. So we got to be adaptable. And one of the examples I love to use all the time is my Facebook story. Now, real quick, if I was to ask you the question, I'm curious, when do you believe Facebook was created? When was it created? And if you want to share, you can share in the chat box right now. But I ask this question a lot. I say, when was Facebook created? And a lot of people have different years. But Facebook was created in 2004. In essence, what many people have grown accustomed to using, what has become accustomed to people's lifestyles and their ways of living as it relates to social media, Facebook was created in 2004. Now watch this. I was in school from 1997 to 2001. When I was in school, there was no Facebook, there was no Snapchat, there was no TikTok, there was no YouTube, there was no LinkedIn, there was no Instagram. None of that was around when I was in school. None of that was around when people were having businesses and when people were entrepreneurs. But fast forward from 2004 to right now, if you walked up to someone and you said, do you have a social media handle? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Or are you on LinkedIn? I mean, you have a business, but does your business have a social media platform? And if the person was to say no, like, what? You have a business and you don't have a social media platform? People would think that person was crazy, because we have realized that incorporating social media platforms can actually not only create business, but it can help you to be more profitable as a business as well. But again, before 2004, there was no social media, but people were still doing business. But because social media came, those who wanted to continue to thrive and continue to succeed had to adapt their way of doing things in order to be more effective and thrive more into more of an increasing digital and virtual environment. Another example I like to share with people is Blockbusters. I'm not sure if you remember when Blockbusters was around and people used to go to Blockbusters and you could rent movies. This was a mega business. Guess what? There's only one left. Why? Because Blockbusters was unwilling to adapt. Therefore, Netflix comes on the scene and creates the very thing that Blockbusters was unwilling to create because they were not willing to adapt. A multi-million-dollar business is done because they were not willing to adapt. And I have found that businesses fail, that sometimes students fail, that sometimes people fail, that sometimes leaders fail because they're not able to adapt. So the third thing you got to ask yourself is, if I'm going to thrive and succeed as a virtual college student, I got to be what I call an adaptable learner. How do I become an adaptable learner? Well, number one, you got to be a forward thinker. People that adapt, they have vision. They have insight into the future. Number two, you got to always be open-minded. You never stop learning, and you got to be flexible to change. So if I'm going to be an adaptable learner, I got to always learn. How can I learn better? What are some study habits? What are people doing? How are people successful? What are they doing to adapt and to adjust to a virtual environment? And they got to be open to change. I know you may like doing things a certain way. I know you may like studying a certain way. I know you may like a certain presentation, and that's good. But in certain instances, you got to be able to adapt and make it work for you. Got to develop a growth mindset. That means I'm always growing. I'm always learning. I tell people all the time, the person that thinks they know everything is the stupidest person in the world, because the moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop growing, the moment you stop progressing, and the moment you shut down yourself from reaching your fullest potential. You got to have a growth mindset, and then you got to be resilient. We're going to talk more about that tonight. Oh, it's going to be powerful, but you got to be resilient. You got to be able to persevere. You got to be able to endure. You got to be able to bounce back. These are the qualities and the characteristics of people that are adaptable learners. In essence, this professor is driving me crazy. I can't understand it. I can't figure it out. Be resilient. As I said earlier, be the coffee bean. Persevere. Third thing we got to ask ourselves is, am I an adaptable learner? I got to be resourceful. I got to be a digital maven. But now I got to be an adaptable learner. And I got to ask myself a simple question. What specific things do I need to do in order to prepare myself to be more effective as an adaptable learner that can thrive and succeed within any learning or virtual environment? Number three, are you an adaptable learner? Before we go to number four, we're getting ready to have another poll. Someone say, poll. I'm having fun, y'all. We're going to put another poll on the screen right now. Here's my poll. I want to know, what is your biggest concern as a virtual student? Is it time management? Is it staying focused? Is it setting boundaries? Is it avoiding procrastination? Here we go. Oh, we got some procrastinators. 71% time management. Man, procrastination. Oh boy. So I got a lot of procrastinators on the call today. Okay. Ooh, stay in focus. So number one, that should be another session, y'all. We should add that session. Ask that question today when these student leaders begin to share. How do you deal with procrastination? So number one was procrastination. Number two was time management, and then number three was staying focused. So it's procrastination. I need to do a session on that. Man, that would be a good session. Procrastination. I'm not going to talk about it now, but we need to talk more about that. How do I stop procrastinating? Last minute, people. Woo, man. I've been down that road before as well. I can totally relate. I'm telling you, but when you get to college, you cannot be a procrastinator. There are some moments you better set some time to study in order to make sure you are aware and you are ready to go. But it leads me into my next point. My fourth point is this, are you a disciplined student? Someone say discipline. What is a disciplined student? A disciplined student is someone, number one, that is focused. It's someone, number two, that takes personal responsibility. It's someone that has effective time management skills. Catch it now. And it's someone that sets boundaries. I want to say that really loud. Boundaries. If you're going to be disciplined, not only do you have to be focused, not only do you got to have personal responsibility, not only do you got to have time management skills, but you got to set boundaries. What do you mean by boundaries? What I mean by that is you got to have you got to make up in your mind how much is enough, because you can be involved, you can do a lot of different things, but again, if you do too much, it can affect other areas of your life. And so you got to set boundaries. You got to make up in your mind and determine, what can I do? What is my max capacity? And am I creating room in order to refill my tank? What are your boundaries? Number two, you got to be focused. Man, there's a lot of distractions. We have the pandemic. We have the social justice. We have a variety of other things that are going on. You have family challenges. I'm assuming family things that happen. I got them in my household, one of my friends. And then I still got to be study. I still got to be locked in. I still got to be focused. Got a lot of distractions. How are you going to stay focused? I got to take responsibility. No excuses. If you don't do good, don't blame the professor. Don't blame the institute. There's no excuses. I got to take personal responsibility. I got to be responsible. I got to be dependable. I got to have integrity. And I got to show up in excellence every single day. They got to have time management skills. Man, time management. All the things that are going on, I got to figure out, how am I going to manage my time? You say, Josh, Dr. J, why is this important? It's important because as a virtual college student, really as a college student, there are going to be so many distractions. There are going to be so many things that are trying to get your attention away from what you're supposed to do. There will be experiences in life that are going to challenge you. There will be moments you're not going to feel like getting out the bed. There's going to be moments you're not going to feel like studying. There's going to be moments you're going to have to stay up all night to make sure that you have the paper or you're ready for the test. There's a variety of challenges that you are going to have to face. And in order to overcome these challenges, in order to thrive, in order to succeed, number one, you got to stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. Number two, you're going to have time management. You have to manage your time. You're going to have to create a calendar. You're going to have your time managed. You're going to have those boundaries. I can't talk to you right now. I really love you. I really care about you. You're going to have to say no. For some, no is hard. But people have been used to you helping them, but I'm a virtual student now. I can't do it. I can't go. What? You can't go? No. I'm setting boundaries. Because if I don't set boundaries and I start trying to help everyone and I start trying to do multiple things, what happens is that I'll end up failing the thing that I'm focused and I'm in pursuit of attaining, which is a degree from college. I got to set boundaries. And you say, Josh, well, I know this is important and I know it's needed and I know it's important, but it's one of the reasons I love to do research, because research reveals to us that time management not only reduces stress, but it also positions you for success. And these authors go on to say that one of the key things we got to lock in on, especially as a virtual college student, is your time management skills. How are you managing your time? I know one person that once said, your time is your money. You can get money back. You can get friendships back. You can't never get your time back. Manage your time wisely. And a great experience I like to share with people is when I was pursuing my doctoral degree from Nova Southeastern University in organizational leadership, man, I had a lot of things going on. I was traveling as a speaker. I was living in multiple states. I had children. I was married. I was doing 2 conferences. I was writing books. And then just the other challenges of life. I mean, I had so much going on that people would ask me a question, Josh, how do you do it all? And I sat there and I said, the reason I'm able to do it all is because I've learned how to stay focused. I've learned how to be responsible. I've learned how to manage my time. And I've learned how to set boundaries. The reason I've been able to deal with all these different things going on in my life and accomplish things is because I've learned how to be disciplined. And my discipline not only enabled me to attain a doctoral degree, but y'all, I got some good news. This September, I got another book that is coming out called Red Leadership, 15 Ways to Be More Effective at Retaining, Engaging, and Developing World-Class, Culturally Diverse Leaders of the Younger Generation. I got this book coming out in the midst of all of it because I was able to stay focused and disciplined on attaining my degree, which ultimately gave me a new concept in order to create my next book, and all the discipline that was needed to do the book and to advance this product to make an impact in people's lives went back to the discipline that I learned in school. Oh, I'm so pumped right now. See, the discipline that you develop while you're in school will be the habits and the discipline that's going to help you succeed in your career. And that's why it's so important that you learn how to be a disciplined student, because the disciplines and the things that you do now are not only going to affect you as a student, they're going to affect you in the future. Because truth be told, what if one day you're going to the job and you have a wonderful job and you're meeting all these people and all of a sudden you find out we're going remote, we're going virtual? Well, because you learn how to be disciplined while you were in school, it won't be a problem for you once you attain your career because you're already used to it. So one of the key things, I feel this right now, one of the key things we got to do as virtual college students is not only be disciplined, but begin to build disciplines in our lives that are going to help us not only thrive and succeed as a virtual college student, but are going to help us reach our fullest potential within our career of choice once we graduate. We gotta be disciplined. The question may be, Josh, how can I be disciplined? And there's a lot of things we can talk about, but number one, develop strategies that'll help you stay focused. It's one thing to say to be focused, but it's one thing to implement certain strategies and certain things in place to help you to stay focused. Maybe it's an accountability partner. Maybe it's a timer. I don't know. You got to figure out what that is for you. Number two, you got to be honest and set boundaries. You got to be honest with yourself. If you can't do it, it's okay. I cannot do it. I would love to do it, but that's too much right now. Again, there's different seasons in life. Sometimes you can do a lot. Sometimes you can only do a little. You got to find your rhythm. Number three, you got to develop your time management skills. We talked about that, and there's a variety of ways you have your time management skills. I like to write things out. Some of you have wonderful calendars. The great thing, we have our phones, so you can actually, set timers throughout your entire day. There's a variety of time management skills, but you got to figure out what works best for you. And number four, you got to take personal responsibility. Listen, there's no excuses. You got no excuses. You have no excuse. You have everything you need to succeed. When you begin to look in the world and think about all the things that people are going through right now, man, we really do have more than we could imagine. There are people in other schools that can't even learn virtually. There's people in other countries that don't have the benefits that we have today. There's no excuses. You got to graduate. You got to succeed. And I need y'all to make a commitment with me. I need y'all to put this in the chat box. I feel inspired right now. If you're here today and you say, Joshua, I will graduate. I'm making a declaration that I want you to put in the chat box. I will graduate. Can I get that in the chat box? Let me know I will graduate. You say, Josh, why are you doing that? I'm doing that because studies show that a lot of people do not graduate. That's what I'm talking about. Make the declaration, I will graduate. And we're holding you to this. Because the purpose of college is not just to go for an experience, it's to graduate and it's to have a degree. And I love that. You will graduate. So the lesson that we learn is really simple. I got to be resourceful. I got to be adaptable. I got to be a digital maven. And I got to be disciplined. How can I be more focused? What type of boundaries do I need to create? How do I plan to manage my time? You got to ask yourself these questions. And who's going to be my accountability partner to make sure that I stay responsible? With honors. I love it, Taylor. I love it. With honors. Who is going to be my accountability partner? I'm moving to my last concept. Before I get to my last concept with this presentation, I want to ask you a question. The question is, what habit do you need to develop to position yourself for greater success over the next 6 months? One habit. What is one habit you need to work on over the next 6 months to position yourself for greater success? One habit. I'm going to give you guys a chance. You've been doing very well. One habit. What is one habit? Positive attitude. Keeping my promises. Come on, I love it. Sleeping early. Oh man, let me tell you about that sleep. Man, it's hard for me to go to sleep sometimes. I understand what that is like. So much things going on in your mind. So true. Persistence. Come on, I love it. Persistence. You got to be persistent. You got to persevere. I love it. Stay in focus. Okay, Vanessa. Stay in focus. Follow through with the plan. Yes, follow through. Get the plan done. Stop procrastinating. I know, but I think a lot of us need that one. Stop procrastinating. I love it. Accountability for planning and doing assignments in a timely manner. Yeah, I love it, Sophie. I love it. You're absolutely correct. I asked you that question because I'm moving into my last point for this session. My last point is this. Do you have positive habits? My last question, if you're going to thrive and succeed as a virtual college student, you've got to ask yourself the question, do I have positive habits? What are positive habits? Positive habits are a repeated set of behaviors that enable individuals to attain personal, career, academic, and leadership success. In essence, habits are a set of repeated behaviors that we do on a consistent basis that position us for personal, academic, leadership, and career success. These are habits, and they make a difference because what I've discovered is not only are 40% of the things that we do on a daily basis align with our habits, but I've found out that our success in life, our success as leaders, and our success in our careers as well as in school can be predicated on the type of habits that you create. In essence, what are some success habits that you need to develop or maybe you need to break? What are some study habits that you need to improve upon or maybe you need to get rid of? In essence, what are some habits that you need to create that's going to position you to succeed, not as a traditional student, but as a virtual college student? The fifth question is, what type of habits do you need to create? And I asked this question because there was research. And one of the things they found, they said that developing habits and routines is a good tactic for helping yourself to learn. In essence, we're going to talk about a daily routine later when we get into resilient leadership, but research has found that you want to develop habits for learning, habits for growth, habits for success, habits for effectiveness. And it goes into your routine. It's a thing that you do. It's a thing that you set on a daily basis to make sure you're ready and you're ready to go and you're ready to thrive and succeed. What type of habits do we need to establish today that is going to prepare you for success as a virtual college student? What are the habits? Because they impact your success. They impact your growth and they impact your future. And I got a story that I want to share with you. There was actually a study. They interviewed thousands of professionals all across the world. And they asked them the question, they said, what is the predictor of professional success? So you had people that had different answers and different perspectives, and they were gathering all this information. And when they collected the data and they analyzed all the data, they found that approximately 40% of people said the key to their success as far as a professional is concerned was their work habits. In essence, almost half of the people that had promotions, that succeeded, that thrived, all said it was because they implemented the right habits. As I sit there reading that article, it was very clear to me that if I was going to thrive and succeed not only as a student, but as a professional, then I had to create what I call the right habits. And I found this to be true as a speaker. Some people may think that as a speaker, you get up here and you just talk, but that's not the case. There are certain habits that I put in place to become as effective as I can as a speaker. One of those habits is I begin with what I call an outline. About 2 weeks before I do a presentation, I have an outline. And then I begin to write out the program. And then I begin to rehearse the program. And then I begin to think about stories and how am I going to share the stories. And then I begin to think about research. And then I begin to think about my audience and what can be relatable to my audience. And then I rehearse again. And then I got to create a PowerPoint. And then I got to go over it again and ask myself, how's my voice? How's my fluctuation? Is it engaging? Is it going to connect? And then after I do it, I got to self-reflect and ask myself, this work, and this work, and how can I get better? And these habits have enabled me to do what I'm doing today. And to be perfectly honest with you, I have found that if I didn't have these habits, I may not be speaking today. Because the habits that I've created in my profession, the habits that I've created in my life that have enabled me to attain my dream or my vision in life. And the same is true with you. If you're going to attain success, if you're going to reach your fullest potential, if you're going to thrive and succeed as a virtual student in a virtual learning environment, you got to create the right habits. So as I get ready to close out this afternoon keynote, I get ready to close out this session, the last question you got to ask yourself, what are 4 to 5 habits that I need to create today to position myself not only for collegiate success in a virtual learning environment, but ultimately career success as well? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself.